There is a specific kind of Las Vegas experience that used to be completely free, and that was, for a very specific kind of traveler, worth more than any show ticket or buffet or complimentary hotel upgrade the casino could offer. You walked into a massive, cathedral-ceilinged room filled with screens. Not one screen, not a wall of screens. An entire architecture of screens, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, covering every game being played on every major league, college, and international sports calendar simultaneously. You found a seat in a deep, comfortable chair. You placed a bet at the counter, anything from $20 to $20,000, and it didn't matter which end of that range you were on because the room treated you the same either way. You ordered a drink. You settled in, and for the next 4 hours, or 6 hours, or the entire Sunday afternoon, you watched football in the greatest sports viewing environment that American culture has ever produced, surrounded by other people who were there for the exact same reason, who understood the games the same way you did, who shared the specific electricity of having money on the outcome of the thing you were all watching together. The Las Vegas Sportsbook was not just a place to bet, it was a community. It was the closest thing American gambling culture had to the English pub, a shared space organized around a shared passion, accessible to anyone willing to walk through the door, free to anyone willing to place a reasonable wager. That experience is dying, not metaphorically, not gradually, in some abstract cultural sense. Physically, specifically, measurably dying, one sportsbook at a time. As the corporate operators who own the Strip's casino properties have decided that the square footage occupied by those deep, comfortable chairs and those wall-to-wall screens is worth more as a revenue center than as a community space. They are charging for the seats, they are shrinking the rooms, they are eliminating the screens. They are converting the spaces into something that generates more money per square foot and delivers less value per dollar than anything else on the casino floor. And the 5 sportsbooks that this video is about are the most visible, most documented, most damaging examples of that conversion happening right now. The story of what happened to the Las Vegas Sportsbook does not start with a single decision. It starts with a shift in how casino operators think about square footage. In the financial model of the modern publicly traded casino company, every area of the casino floor is evaluated on the basis of revenue per square foot. Slot machines generate a known, measurable, consistent revenue per square foot based on the machine's denomination, the house edge, and the average coin-in per hour. Table games generate a revenue per square foot based on minimum bets, average hand speed, and house edge. Food and beverage outlets generate revenue per square foot based on average check size and table turns. The sportsbook, in the traditional format, generated revenue per square foot based on the handle from bets placed minus the payouts, which produced a hold percentage that was applied to the total wagered. For decades, this calculation was sufficient to justify the space. The sportsbook brought in bettors who stayed in the hotel, ate in the restaurants, and played on the casino floor. The direct sports betting revenue was not the entire value of the sportsbook. The ancillary spending of the sports bettors was also value, and it was significant. A sports bettor who checked in for a 3-day football weekend because the sportsbook was excellent might spend $300 in sports bets, $200 in food and beverage, and another $200 on the casino floor. The sportsbook generated $600 of total value from that customer, even though the direct sports betting revenue was only a portion of it. The corporate financial model that has come to dominate Strip casino decision-making does not measure the sportsbook this way. It measures the sportsbook by the direct revenue it generates in the space it occupies, compared to what that space would generate as a slot floor or a food and beverage concept or a retail outlet. And by that comparison, the traditional sportsbook loses. Slot machines generate more direct revenue per square foot than a sportsbook full of people watching football on free admission. So the math of the modern casino company says the sportsbook is inefficient, and the response to an inefficient use of space is to make the space efficient, which means generating more direct revenue from it, which means charging for what used to be free. The Caesars Sportsbook at Caesars Palace is the most prominent and most symbolically significant example of what this philosophy has done to the Las Vegas sportsbook experience. Caesars Palace has a history with sports betting that is genuinely significant. The original Race and Sportsbook at Caesars was one of the most famous gambling rooms in the country, a space where the biggest bets in Las Vegas history were placed, where the most famous professional gamblers in America spent their working hours, where the mythology of the serious Las Vegas sports bettor was built over decades of documented action. That history is not nothing. It is the reason the Caesars brand carries weight with serious sports bettors in a way that newer properties simply cannot replicate. And the current Caesars Sportsbook operation is trading on that history while systematically dismantling the conditions that created it. The reserved seating model that Caesars has implemented at its major Las Vegas properties represents the most direct conversion of a free community space into a fee-generating amenity that exists in the current Las Vegas sportsbook. Landscape. During major sporting events, specifically NFL Sundays and major championship games, prime seating in the Caesars Sportsbook requires a reservation with a minimum food and beverage spend that has been reported at $250 per seat for standard positions and significantly higher for premium placements. Near the main screens, $250, not to bet, not to access any game or service that was previously unavailable, to sit in a chair in a room that used to be free to any bettor who walked through the door. The chair did not change, the screens did not improve, the service did not upgrade in a way that justifies the minimum spend. The only thing that changed is that the casino identified that people wanted to be in the room badly enough to pay for the privilege and decided to charge them for it. The MGM Sportsbook at the MGM Grand is the second property on this list and the one that most clearly illustrates the conflict between the sportsbook's historical identity and the financial priorities of its corporate owner. The MGM Grand Sportsbook was, in its prime, one of the largest and most technically sophisticated sports betting operations in the country. It handled enormous volume, it attracted serious professional bettors, and it operated with a level of scale that gave it a cultural weight that smaller books simply could not match. The current MGM Sportsbook at the Grand is a reduced version of that institution. The room has been reorganized. Screen coverage that was once comprehensive has been consolidated. The seating configuration has been adjusted in ways that feel like the accommodation of a function that is no longer the primary purpose of the space, rather than the design of a space around its primary function. MGM, which operates the BetMGM Sportsbook brand nationally through an app-based model, has discovered that it can capture sports betting revenue far more efficiently through its mobile application than through a physical sportsbook that requires expensive square footage, experienced sportsbook personnel, and the operational overhead of a large, staffed betting room. The physical sportsbook is no longer the product, it is the marketing material for the app. Its purpose is to exist, to be photographed by tourists who have heard that Las Vegas has great sportsbooks, and to be featured in promotional materials. Its purpose is not to serve the serious sports bettor who wants to sit in a great room and watch football all day, because that person is being steered toward the app instead. The Westgate Superbook is the third property on this list, and it is the one that hurts the most to include because the Westgate Superbook has the strongest historical claim to greatness of any sportsbook in Las Vegas and arguably in the world. The Superbook opened in its current form in 1986 and was, for decades, the defining standard of what a Las Vegas sportsbook should be. 30,000 square feet, 105 feet of video wall spanning the entire width of the room, the largest sports betting operation under a single roof anywhere on Earth. The place where the most famous prop bets in Super Bowl history were created, where the line that every other book in Las Vegas followed originated, where the professional sports betting community in America came to establish its credentials. The Westgate Superbook was not just a sports book. It was an institution with a genuine claim to being one of the most important gambling rooms in American history. The Westgate property itself has struggled financially for years. The hotel has lost ground to newer, more aggressively marketed competitors. The location, which is slightly off the main strip corridor, has become a disadvantage as tourist foot traffic has concentrated around the center strip properties. The Westgate's response to its broader financial difficulties has included reductions in operational overhead across the property, and the Superbook has not been immune to those reductions. Staffing levels in the Superbook have been adjusted. The operational hours of certain betting windows have been modified. The promotional investment in the Superbook's national profile has declined relative to the period when the property was investing aggressively in its position as the premier sports betting destination in the country. The Superbook is still large. It is still the largest sportsbook in Las Vegas by square footage. It still has its video wall, but the energy of a room is not just about the physical dimensions. It is about the staffing, the action, the professionalism of the operation, and the sense that the institution behind the room is committed to maintaining its greatness. That commitment is harder to feel in the current Westgate Superbook than it was a decade ago. The room that set the standard is now a room that is coasting on the reputation established when the standard was being actively maintained. Coasting has an endpoint. That endpoint is visible on the horizon. The fourth sportsbook on this list is the Bellagio, and its inclusion is the one that will generate the most argument from people who have been to Las Vegas recently and found the Bellagio sportsbook perfectly adequate. It is perfectly adequate. That is exactly the problem. The Bellagio sportsbook exists in one of the most expensive and most prestigious casino properties in the world, a property that charges room rates and resort fees and food and beverage prices that communicate a commitment to the absolute highest standard of everything it offers. The Bellagio's poker room is world-class. The Bellagio's casino floor is maintained at a level of quality and attention to detail that justifies its premium positioning. The Bellagio's restaurants are genuine, serious dining destinations. The Bellagio's sportsbook is a nice room in a nice casino. It is not world-class. It is not a destination. It is not a room that a serious sports bettor would choose as the place they want to spend a football Sunday if they had access to alternatives. The screen coverage is fine. The seating is comfortable. The operation is professional. But there is no greatness in it. There is no sense that the Bellagio, which has the resources and the brand positioning to operate the finest sportsbook in Las Vegas, has made any particular effort to do so. The sportsbook at the Bellagio is the sportsbook that the finance department approved. It is not the sportsbook that the Bellagio's reputation demands. And the gap between those two things is, in the context of what a Bellagio-level property should be delivering to its customers, a failure. A quiet, comfortable, perfectly adequate failure. MGM Resorts' management of the Bellagio sportsbook reflects the same logic that drives its management of every other amenity at every other property in its portfolio. The sportsbook is resourced at the level required to check the box. Guests who ask if there is a sportsbook are told yes. They find one. It is open, it functions, the box is checked. What is not being asked, because asking it would require investing in an answer that goes beyond box checking, is whether the sportsbook is genuinely great, whether it is the kind of room that a sports bettor would fly to Las Vegas specifically to spend time in, whether it is the kind of amenity that creates a loyal customer who comes back to the Bellagio specifically because the sportsbook is worth coming back for. Those questions are not being asked because the capital required to answer them affirmatively would reduce the funds available for the share repurchase program. Box checking is cheaper than greatness, and box checking is what the Bellagio sportsbook currently delivers. The fifth sportsbook on this list is not a single property, it is a category. The sportsbooks inside the Caesars branded mid-tier properties, specifically Bally's, The Link, and Paris Las Vegas, represent the clearest possible example of what happens to a sportsbook when its operator has decided that sports betting is not a product to be delivered, but a brand to be licensed. Caesars Entertainment holds the Caesars Sportsbook brand. It operates the Caesars Sportsbook app. It has a national sports betting presence built on the Caesars brand that generates significant revenue across dozens of states. And at the actual physical sportsbooks inside its mid-tier Las Vegas properties, it has invested the absolute minimum required to maintain the brand's physical presence while directing serious sports bettors toward the app. The sportsbooks at Bally's and The Link in Paris are small. They are staffed at the minimum viable level. The screen coverage is adequate for the casual bettor who wants to watch the game they have money on, but not for the serious bettor who wants comprehensive coverage of multiple simultaneous events. The betting menu is functional but not deep. The seating is not designed for extended sessions. These are not sports books in the traditional Las Vegas sense of the word. They are betting kiosks with televisions and chairs. The app is the product. The physical room is the billboard for the app. Walk in, notice that it's a Caesars Sportsbook. Download the app on your phone. And from that point forward, your betting relationship with Caesars exists entirely in the digital space where it costs Caesars almost nothing to maintain. The physical sportsbook has accomplished its marketing function. The physical sportsbook can now be as small and as cheaply operated as possible because its primary purpose was never to provide a great sports betting experience. Its primary purpose was to establish brand presence and funnel customers toward a digital product. The sports bettor who wanted a real room to spend Sunday in has been told, through the deliberate inadequacy of what is offered in the physical space, to find somewhere else. Where somewhere else actually is, in 2026, is one of the most important questions any serious Las Vegas sports bettor can ask, because the answer tells you everything about which operators still understand what a sportsbook is supposed to be, and which ones have decided that the app is a sufficient replacement for the experience. The answer starts at Red Rock Casino. The Station Casino's sportsbook at Red Rock is the single most compelling remaining argument that the Las Vegas sportsbook experience does not have to be what the Strip has made it. The Red Rock sportsbook is large. It is genuinely well designed. It has comprehensive screen coverage that was clearly planned by someone who thinks seriously about how a sports bettor spends a day in a betting room, and it is surrounded by food and beverage options that are priced for repeat local customers rather than for captive tourists. There is no minimum spend requirement to sit in the room. There is no reservation system for NFL Sundays. You walk in, you find a seat, you place your bets, and you watch football in an environment that was designed to make you want to come back the following Sunday and the Sunday after that. The Durango Casino Sportsbook, which Station Casinos built from scratch when they opened the property in late 2023, is similarly designed with the local, regular sports bettor as the primary customer rather than as an afterthought. These rooms are not as large as the Westgate Superbook at its peak. They are not trying to be. They are trying to be the best room available to the people who actually show up every week, and by that standard, they are succeeding in a way that the Strip sportsbooks are not. The Circa Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas is the most dramatic physical statement of what a sportsbook can be when its operator genuinely believes that the sportsbook is a destination rather than an amenity. The Circa Resort opened in 2020 with the explicit positioning as a casino designed for serious bettors rather than for tourists, and the sportsbook was the centerpiece of that positioning. The Stadium Swim concept at Circa, which combines a massive sportsbook environment with a resort pool complex built around a colossal screen structure, is genuinely without precedent in Las Vegas and potentially in the world. It is exactly the kind of institutional commitment to the sportsbook as a product that the Strip's corporate operators have been incapable of making because their financial structures reward cost minimization rather than experience. Maximization. Circa is privately operated, relatively free of the debt obligations and REIT rent structures that constrain Strip operators, and run by an owner, Derek Stevens, who has publicly and repeatedly stated that the serious bettor is who the property is designed for. The results are visible in the energy of the Circa Sportsbook on any major betting day, which is the energy of a room that people came to specifically, that people chose over other options, that people feel the sportsbook is worth the trip to downtown Las Vegas to access. The Harrah's New Orleans Sportsbook, which was referenced in the channel's earlier video on casino alternatives, is worth naming here as well because it represents something the Strip sportsbooks have almost universally lost: the integration of the sportsbook into the culture of the city around it. The Harrah's New Orleans Sportsbook feels like a New Orleans room. The energy connects to the city outside. The atmosphere reflects the specific, particular culture of a place that takes sport and wagering and communal gathering seriously in its own distinct way. The Strip sportsbooks have no relationship to Las Vegas as a city because Las Vegas as a city has no relationship to the Strip beyond the tourist economy. But a sportsbook in New Orleans is connected to a city that actually has a relationship with sport, that has an NFL team that its residents care about with the intensity that distinguishes a real sports culture from a tourist attraction. That connection produces an energy in the room that no amount of screen, square footage, or premium seating can manufacture in a Las Vegas casino that is optimized for visitors who will never come back. The death of the great Las Vegas Sportsbook is the same story as the death of everything else this channel has been documenting. It is the story of an amenity that was built on the philosophy of genuine service to a genuine community of customers that provided real value in exchange for the customer's continued presence and wagering activity. And that has been dismantled by operators who decided that the square footage was worth more as a revenue center than as a relationship investment. The sportsbook that charges $250 for a seat that used to be free has not improved the sportsbook. It has monetized the reputation of the sportsbook while reducing the quality of the experience that reputation was built on. The sports bettor who pays the $250 minimum is not receiving $250 of value in excess of what the room previously offered for free. They are paying for the residual brand value of an institution that their money is not being used to maintain. They are funding the reputation of the past to sit in an experience that is less than the past delivered. That is the Las Vegas Sportsbook in 2026, and the people who know the difference, the serious bettors who remember what the rooms used to be and who understand exactly what they are being charged for, have been leaving for the Circa and the Red Rock and the Durango and the properties in Biloxi and Atlantic City that still understand what a sportsbook is supposed to feel like. The Strip sportsbooks are not dying because sports betting is dying. Sports betting in America is booming. The legal sports betting market is the fastest growing segment of the American gambling industry by a significant margin. The Strip sportsbooks are dying because the operators running them have decided that the growth of the legal sports betting market is best captured through a mobile application and a nationally licensed brand rather than through the physical experience of being in a great room with great screens and a serious, committed approach to the craft of taking a bet. They are right that the app captures more of the market. They are wrong that the app replaces the experience. The sports bettor who wants the experience is going somewhere, the experience still exists. That somewhere is not on the Las Vegas Strip.